Hey Dunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and welcome to the 6th edition of Rapid Fire Reviews, the series where I kind of shortly dissect 5 albums or EPs that have come out fairly recently. This one I'm going to be taking it back still probably a little over a month. I really want to get these done, get the rapid fire reviews out so you guys can hear my short opinions on some of these albums and EPs that you guys have either suggested or that I thought were worth talking about, but not for a full review. The first one that I'm going to talk about is Steve Aoki's Neon Future Odyssey, which I was actually kind of excited to hear since it would be Neon Future 1 and Neon Future 2, along with a few bonus tracks. And you guys, if you remember my review of Neon Future 2, you'll know that I kind of liked it but wasn't overly excited by it, and Neon Future 1 I thought was even worse on some aspects. I think probably the only one that's really even worth checking out on the album is probably either the Flux Pavilion collab or the Fall Out Boy collab that features on it, and neither of those were overly fantastic, so I'd probably give that one somewhere around like a solid 1.5. And I gave a 3.5 to Neon Future 2. Along with that, the bonus tracks are nothing impressive either. Wasn't really, I was excited to hear the track with Borgore, thought it was going to be something interesting, ended up being a pretty generic progressive house track, and none of the other ones particularly brought any interest to my ear, especially the track Titanic, or the remix of I Love It When You Cry, which I didn't really like initially anyway, and this remix just made it even worse. But I was actually pretty impressed with the Headhunters track, pretty catchy, even though it's a fairly generic big room track that you'd hear at any kind of festival. Kind of sounds like a Tujamo kind of deal. Regardless, it's still pretty catchy, and I enjoyed it more than the rest of the bonus tracks. I'm going to conclude by giving this one a 2.5. The next one I'm going to talk about is Sakuraburst's follow-up to his debut album Deconstructing Nature. The EP is called Blood Orange, and I was actually really hyped to hear this. I get notifications on my Bandcamp, so if I buy anything from anyone, they'll give me notifications in my email telling me when they release new stuff. Monster Cat, it notifies me, and Lone Moon and Sakuraburst, it'll all tell me when they're releasing new stuff. So I was, regardless, when I got the email about this, I was pretty excited. Wasn't as good as I had hoped for. It was just kind of a collection, as he said, of just a few tracks that he couldn't really push to an album, but he kind of just wanted to throw in somewhere because they are quality music, especially on the first track, Forest of the Spirits, which takes a little bit of a harder dance sound, and that made it really enjoyable, something like AGN03 has been doing a lot. The rest of the 3 tracks were fairly enjoyable, but I don't really feel like they brought anything necessarily new to the table. Like I said, they're pretty easy to get through, but overall I just didn't feel like they did the same job that his debut album did, so I'm going to give this one a 7.5. The next one I'm going to touch base on is Andy Mineo's new one, Uncomfortable, and Andy Mineo's been pushing out a lot of new music lately, and I haven't really been a huge fan of him, but recently with this album especially, I think he really hit it spot on. I wanted to do a full review on this just to push out and show my support for him, but last time I did a review of a rap album, I got really freaking bad dislikes because apparently I have no idea what I'm talking about. I should probably stick to doing, for full reviews at least, just doing EDM because that's something I'm more used to. So I thought I'd just feature it in my rapid fire review just to touch base on it because this was a really good album. I think it really pushed boundaries on, at least pushed me out of my comfort zone, which I think was part of his goal with this, where he talks about having sex as a teenager. He talks about apologizing for Christians who say God hates fags, knowing that Jesus wouldn't really act like that if he was here. And I think overall this was a really cool, he uses a lot of really cool themes in this, really cool wordplay and production, really liked the track with John Bellion, Rat Race, and just a lot of this was really quality music, and I feel like it was definitely one of the best rap releases of the year. So definitely go check this out. Andy Mineo's Uncomfortable. I'm going to give it a solid 8. The next one's actually probably, I think, the oldest on this list that I haven't reviewed yet. I was planning on reviewing it quite a few months ago, but never ended up being able to cover it. It's the debut EP from filous. This one's called Dawn. filous has been widely recognized for his really awesome kind of tropical chill sound that he's released, and I think in a lot of ways he's done it better than Kygo, kind of bringing this really chill element using a lot of guitars and things like that, and I was really excited to hear what he could do, and was even more excited when, as I went through this EP, the tracks just kept getting better and better. I don't really want to touch base on this too much because the nature of this EP, where it's basically just guitar and a lot of chill beats and tropical sounds, can get really boring, but overall I think it's a really awesome listen, and especially if you're trying to fall asleep to something, this is going to be the perfect thing to do it with. Just such a beautiful piece of art, and using all these chill elements. The only thing I really have to pick is that each track kind of sounds similar to the next. You can't really blame him for that. That's really his style. Overall, like I said, this does make a really good listen, and I'd go out and buy it if I were you, because this is some of the most quality music he's released yet. He's been really popular for remixes of songs like Divinity by Porter Robinson, which kind of caught my eye initially. But with this debut album, he's actually pushing a lot of boundaries that he hasn't yet with his remixes, and I have a lot of respect for him for that. So I'm going to give this one an 8.5. Was originally going to give it a 9. Changed my mind. Oh well. The last one I'm going to talk about today is the newest EP by J.A.C.K. This one's called Fragments, and I was kind of surprised when they pushed this out. I didn't really see J.A.C.K. as an artist or artist. I don't really know much about this artist or collective or whatever it is, but I know that he or they did a collab with the Noisy Freaks, and I was really interested in that. I think we uploaded it to Your EDM's SoundCloud like last year or something. But overall, I was kind of on a roll to hear this, and I really wanted to see what this artist could do outside of just like the typical French house world. What I got was a lot of ambient sounds, a lot of really grimy French house kind of sounds, really funky stuff, and kind of like a rebirth of what you'd see on artists like Justice with their album Cross that came out quite a few years ago. That's one of my favorites. And overall, I think this one just made a really awesome listen. Definitely go check it out. If it was on CD, I'd probably grab a copy. In fact, it might be, but I haven't really checked. If you're really into that slow, kind of funky electronic music, then you'll definitely dig this one, especially if you were into the last Noisy Freaks album, if you're into Justice, and overall just those slow kind of grimy electronic musicians, then you're going to really love this one, and I'm sure I did too. So I'm going to give this one a solid 9. Definitely top notch for EPs this year, especially since it's a 6-track. Just made for a really awesome listen. And anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this edition of Rapid Fire Reviews. Let me know what you think. Listen to all these if you want to, if you got some time. Go and check out them. Probably ignore Steve Aoki's, because that's going to take you hours to listen to, and it's not really going to provide you any pleasure. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. Peace.